Hello, fellow rebel capitalists. Hope you're well, enjoying your morning. I want to dive into a topic that's hot in the news: the $1 trillion platinum coin. Could the US Treasury or the US Mint just create this platinum coin? And could it solve all of the United States problems or debt problems moving forward? We're going to explore that right now. So let's dive into this article where Janet Yellen talks about the $1 trillion platinum coin. Here we go. All right. So, title of this article from Bloomberg: Yellen rejects $1 trillion coin for debt limit as a gimmick. Now, and this is the part of the story that I find shocking. How could Janet Yellen be so obtuse, I think is the right word, that she could call the $1 trillion coin a gimmick, but yet quantitative easing is not a gimmick. So we should look at quantitative easing as though it's something respectable that, educated people and people who really understand economics, they're the ones talking about things like quantitative easing or Operation Twist or the MILF program from the Fed, their 4-letter and 5-letter bailout programs. These are something that serious intellectuals talk about. It's an adult conversation. But those plebs out there in the real economy, or Krugman, maybe you shouldn't say him specifically, but they're the ones that are talking about this $1 trillion coin. So ridiculous. It's just a gimmick. It's not something that we should take seriously like quantitative easing. So hold that thought just for a moment, because once we go through this article briefly, we're going to circle back and I'm going to show you how hypocritical Janet Yellen is, and any central banker or any politician who claims that this platinum coin is just a gimmick. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying that they're completely hypocritical. The concept of the US minting a $1 trillion platinum coin in order to avoid default on federal debt has gripped some quarters of markets in Washington amid political brinksmanship over the debt ceiling. The Biden administration has constantly dismissed it as an option, insisting that the debt ceiling be raised by October 18th through bipartisan action. Okay, so they temporarily raised the debt ceiling. I think they raised it slightly. That's just kicking the can down the road for another few weeks or another couple months. And then Janet Yellen, Janet says, I'm opposed to it. I don't believe that we should consider it seriously. It's really a gimmick. And that was Yellen talking about the platinum coin in a CNBC television interview on Tuesday. All right. Let's go ahead and circle back to this idea that adults, serious adults, don't consider a $1 trillion coin a realistic solution because it's just a gimmick. It's nonsense. What we talk about, the intellectuals and the PhDs at the Fed, is much more high level. And for the basic rube out there, the average Joe or Jane, they probably really can't get their head around what we do. Things like quantitative easing or Operation Twist or the 4- and 5-letter bailout programs, or how they interact with the commercial banks. It's very sophisticated. They would have you believe it's not as simple as just creating some $1 trillion platinum coin, and then the government can go ahead and pay off or pay down their debt by $1 trillion. I want to go ahead and push back on that slightly. I think you guys are really going to get a kick out of this. So what I am going to do is take the first 3 people that came on to, or that commented on the live stream. So we've got Zero Silver Hawk, Craig F, and Dr. Kumar, we'll say. You got that, Josh? You're gonna have to probably remind me. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go over to this spreadsheet, and we're gonna start by putting, what was it, Silverhawk? Oh, zero. Okay, so we got Zero Silver Hawk. Okay, and what was the next one? Then we got Craig F in the house. Then we got Doctor. Oh no, what was it? Dr. Kumar, right? We got Dr. Kumar in the house. So let's just pretend right now that I am doing quantitative easing. I'm at the New York Fed's trading desk, and I'm going to execute this complex game plan, or this complex strategy that the central bankers have deemed important. But again, it's just way too complicated for you dumb rubes sitting at home to really get your mind around how this works. But I'm going to show you how it works. Not in 3 simple steps. Oh no, just one. And this is how quantitative easing works. And I'm not joking. This is actually how it works. I'm sitting here at my computer, and I want to buy, let's say, $1 billion worth of treasuries from Mr. Zero Silver Hawk. Well, I'm right here, and I go over to Mr. Zero Silver Hawk's account that he has with the Fed, and I just go over to my computer. What? Just pay attention, because you guys might not be able to get your head around this. Again, it's really complex. And I type in $1 billion. There we go. We just did $1 billion worth of quantitative easing with Mr. Zero Silver Hawk. And of course, then basically we're just increasing his account balance by $1 billion. And let's say I wanted to buy $1 trillion worth of mortgage-backed securities from Mr. Craig F. Well, I just go right over to his account and say an extra, or we'll say plus $1 trillion. Here we go. Done. Time for my coffee break. That was intellectually straining. All that thought that went into those keystrokes. Whew, boy, I'm tuckered out. So then we go down to Dr. Kumar. And let's just say, well, we've got most of our quantitative easing done for the day. So with Dr. Kumar, we're just going to we'll buy some maybe T-bills. We don't want to buy too many T-bills because that's pristine collateral for the repo market. Although we're probably not thinking at that level at the Fed. That's more, we heard a podcast from Jeff Snyder, and that's where we're getting all of our cues. So since Jeff Snyder said that's a problem, we better assume that it is. So we're just going to do $50 million. And so we're going to buy $50 million worth of T-bills from Dr. Kumar. So we're going to go right over to his account that he has with the Fed right here. This is the Fed's balance sheet. And then we're just going to add $50 million. There you go. So in total, we have done, call it $1.15 in quantitative easing. $1.1 trillion in quantitative easing, just like that. But keep in mind that platinum coin, I mean, that's just a gimmick. It's not the stuff that really Rhodes scholars think about. It's not appropriate for an adult conversation with sophisticated PhD economists that work at the Fed. You see my point. Enough of the sarcasm. You get it, right? How can Janet Yellen come out and say that $1 trillion coin is a gimmick when she has done quantitative easing? Is there anything that's more of a gimmick than quantitative easing? Another point that I want to make is why do they say we even need $1 trillion coin? So what their rationale is, the treasury or the mint, the US Mint creates $1 trillion platinum coin. They give that to the Fed. So then the Fed has that as an asset on their balance sheet. Well, how do they pay for that? They just, in fact, they would just do this. Let's set up an account here called the TGA. They would send them that $1 trillion coin via FedEx. I don't know what the insurance would cost on that, but they would. And once the Jerome Powell got that, he said, "Oh wow, that looks cool." Puts it in his back pocket, and then he calls down to the New York trading desk and says, "Hey, we need to go ahead and buy that $1 trillion coin." So then trading desk goes over to the TGA, just says, "Okay, here we go. Time for some sophistication, some in-depth thinking." We'll just say, add one. Oh, it's already up. So I don't even have to type it. I can just click there. $1 trillion. There we go. So now we have purchased, we the Federal Reserve, have purchased the $1 trillion coin. Now the TGA, the Treasury General Account, has an extra $1 trillion in bank reserves. Now, these aren't necessarily dollars that circulate in the real economy, but they're bank reserves that are denominated in dollars. So they're assets on a bank's balance sheet, or in this case, they're dollar denominated assets on the balance sheet of the Treasury. So then what happens is Janet Yellen can go out there and say, okay, we're going to go ahead and send out $1 trillion worth of checks. Those checks go out. Those are liabilities of the commercial banking system when they're deposited in the accounts of the people or entities who get the check. And then the $1 trillion in bank reserves goes from the TGA into the reserve accounts of the banks where the $1 trillion checks were deposited. And if you guys need more of an explanation on this, I did a whiteboard video where we talk about this last night on the George Gammon channel. It's a whiteboard video on the debt ceiling, and I go into this to a certain degree, much easier to understand. But this is the basic premise. This is what happens. This is quantitative easing. This is what happens when the Fed buys an asset, whether it's a mortgage-backed security or a $1 trillion platinum coin. Now, my further point, though, in illustrating this is, why did the Mint need to send Jerome Powell the $1 trillion coin in the first place? Well, any reasonable economist or PhD at the Fed would tell you, well, we have to have an asset that we purchased. Oh, do you? Really? Because remember, how did we, or let me put it to you this way. I just came over here and typed in $1 trillion, an extra $1 trillion into the account of the TGA. But did you guys see me receive? Did Josh just hand me a $1 trillion coin? No, no. So why on earth would I have to receive a 20 or $1 trillion coin just to go over to my computer and type in an extra $1 trillion in the TGA? You get my point. Is nothing is preventing me. You say, well, oh my gosh, well, the Fed would have negative equity. So what? Does that somehow prevent the person that's typing that in? Does that prevent them from typing in just numbers onto their computer screen? My guess is you guys watching this video will most likely type something into your computer today. Did you need to receive a $1 trillion coin in order to do that? No, you didn't. So I'm trying to make 2 points here. Number one, yes, the platinum coin is a gimmick, but it's no more of a gimmick than anything the Fed has been doing since 2008. And second, what I'm trying to point out is the Fed really doesn't need to have an asset on their balance sheet. They don't need to receive something in the mail, some sort of coin, some sort of gold bar. When you think about it, the only thing they need is for someone to show up to work, some sort of monkey to show up to work just to type in some numbers into a computer. They don't have to have positive equity for that. They don't have to be They could be insolvent and still do that. So this is the level at which our financial system operates. Now you understand why Chris Cole calls the dollar nothing more than a thought abstraction. Our whole entire financial system is nothing more than a thought abstraction. I like to use the example of a basketball game. So you've got two teams going back and forth here, and you've got the scorekeeper. What would prevent the scorekeeper just from for giving one team 5 points for every basket? Nothing. Nothing. He just doot, 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 type in some more numbers, right? The only thing that prevents him from doing that is the two teams just agree that, okay, every basket you get 2 points. Every basket you get 2 points. And they just agree on it. But there's nothing really preventing them from changing the rules of the game at any point in time. And this is what the government does. This is what the central planners do. Since nothing is really tangible, there is no money that's tangible. It allows them to change the rules of the game whenever they want to serve their purposes, which at the end of the day is taking more power and control. And it's taking away your freedom and liberty. Hopefully, this example illustrated just how ridiculous quantitative easing and our entire monetary system and economy, for that matter, actually is. All right, guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoy the rest of your morning or afternoon. I'll see you on the next video.